Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we're diving into a series of wild, outrageous, and deeply troubling stories from China that are turning heads worldwide. From aunties halting flights to pee and causing chaos everywhere, to nationwide scams, crumbling infrastructure, and chemical empires fueling Asia's drug crisis. And believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Before we get started, if you find this content eye-opening, please hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Your support is what keeps this channel thriving and allows us to bring you more unfiltered, hard-hitting insights that mainstream media often ignores. In today's episode of China Undercover, we'll uncover the latest developments that expose the chaos, corruption, and moral decay bubbling under the surface. Stories that paint a stark picture of a society in turmoil, far beyond what official narratives admit. But what alarms us most is what's fueling it all. Let's jump right in. Chinese aunties shock the world again. Stop Singapore flight just to pee, snatch, dance shamelessly, causing chaos wherever they go. China's zero-cost shopping frenzy. Refunds without returns. Turn e-commerce into a nationwide scam, exposing CCP's moral decay. The transnational pig-butchering scam network, fueled by Chinese kingpins, exposed millions of victims trapped with no way out. Tofu Dreg projects collapse nationwide. Highways crumble. Buildings fall apart across the country. Chinese chemical companies are the key driving force behind the methamphetamine epidemic in Asia. Welcome to today's episode of China Undercover. Everything you need to understand. The latest developments is right here. Chinese aunties shock the world again. Stop Singapore flight just to pee, snatch, dance shamelessly, causing chaos wherever they go. From dancing in front of landmarks around the world to snapping up gold and shocking financial tycoons, Chinese aunties have been in the spotlight for years. They even garnered a special English term, Chinese dama, coined by the Wall Street Journal to give them a formal name, especially when traveling abroad. Their behavior has repeatedly shocked the world. The most notable incident occurred in early February this year. According to Singapore Airlines, flight SQ-26 from Singapore to Shanghai was taxiing for takeoff when a female passenger suddenly demanded to use the restroom. The crew explained that it was temporarily closed for safety reasons and asked her to wait. However, the woman refused, shouted at the crew, and even kicked the cabin door. For safety, the captain returned the aircraft to the gate, delaying the flight for nearly 2 hours. Other passengers were furious. When a fellow Chinese passenger called her selfish and embarrassing, she snapped back, "Embarrassing? I'm embarrassing every day." The captain stopped the flight, "Not me. If you're rich, take a private jet." She was later escorted off the plane and handed to Singapore authorities. Many netizens joked, "Chinese aunties never disappoint. There's always a new twist." Singapore Airlines stated it does not tolerate any disruptive behavior. Under Singaporean law, the woman could face imprisonment and a heavy fine. The case reminded many of Chinese influencer Han Feiasi, who was jailed for 40 days and fined 600 Singapore dollars after verbally abusing medical staff and resisting police in Singapore. In another incident, a Chinese dama caused a commotion at a Japanese airport when she tried to enter the country with 2.6 kgs of dried meat, a prohibited item. She not only yelled at customs officers, but also physically pushed them. Chinese tourists in Bangkok recorded a group of damas dancing obliviously at the airport, prompting other travelers to pull out their phones and capture the moment. "It's so embarrassing," remarked one of the bystanders. As more Chinese travel abroad, incidents of rude or entitled behavior are drawing attention. A viral video showed a Shanghai woman yelling at a Taiwanese passenger on a bus, demanding a seat, and boasting about her wealth and Shanghai passport. Netizens mocked her arrogance, asking, "If Shanghai people are so superior, why get Taiwanese citizenship?" Another case in Beijing showed an older woman occupying student seats on a train, insulting the conductor and throwing her phone at him. When told to move, She pulled out scissors and threatened to harm herself. She was finally subdued and escorted off the train to applause. At a Saudi Arabian airport, a group of Chinese tourists upset by a flight delay chanted, "Go back to China," in protest. Ironically, the phrase, "go back to China," is often used abroad to drive away Chinese people. Observers believe they meant, "We want to go back to China," but said it wrong due to poor English, confusing everyone. Netizens mocked them, saying, "Ignorance is scarier than poverty." They insulted themselves and didn't even realize it. Other bizarre events include tourists printing their own faces on luggage, or a Chinese professor angering a royal guard while posing for photos. In other cases, women brazenly stole offering money from temples and wishing pools. At home, Chinese aunties have gained notoriety for storming supermarkets and restaurants at opening hours, grabbing products, arguing, and even throwing milk or water at others. Such behavior once forced the luxury cruise line Norwegian Joy to leave the Chinese market or caused a Japanese toy store to close. They are also known for square dancing. In parks, basketball courts, and parking lots, groups of middle-aged women claimed public spaces for square dancing, pushing away basketball hoops, or deflating car tires if someone refuses to move. 1 year ago in Sichuan, 11 elderly women ignored warnings and entered a restricted river area to film dance videos. When water levels suddenly rose, they were swept away, leaving only 4 survivors. If there had been a little more self-discipline and respect for life, this tragedy might not have happened, one commenter wrote. Another added, "It's not that the elderly have become bad, it's that bad people have grown old." Analysts say remnants of wolf culture and jungle survival mentality from the Cultural Revolution still shape attitudes among some people, encouraging aggression and disregard for others. In one viral video, an elderly woman taught a child to win arguments by lying on the ground and throwing tantrums. In another case in Shandong, an old woman argued with a college student, then collapsed, only for the young woman to lie down beside her in protest. When might makes right becomes the rule, morality erodes and social trust fades. People no longer help each other for fear of scams or conflict, and strangers interact with extreme caution. A society without trust becomes cold and fragmented. China's zero-cost shopping frenzy, refunds without returns, turn e-commerce into a nationwide scam, exposing CCP's moral decay. The phrase, "wherever Chinese people go, grass no longer grows," is commonly used online to describe the tendency of Chinese people to exploit free offers. In the past, such behaviors, grabbing, hoarding, and taking advantage, were often associated with middle-aged aunties, but today they have spread across all generations and social groups. Viral videos show people seizing every opportunity to get something for free. From refill machines to supermarket plastic bags, supermarket staff admit that customers often take far more than allowed. And while they can issue verbal warnings, they are essentially powerless to stop it. This culture of exploitation has now moved online. The rise of the refund-without-return policy on Chinese e-commerce platforms has turned getting things for free into a trend. What was originally designed to protect consumers has quickly become a tool for fraud. Online tutorials and chat groups teaching people how to get refunds without returning items are flourishing, attracting thousands of participants. Membership in these groups costs between $28 and $298, when approximately $4 to $42 USDs. And in return, members are taught how to file false complaints, exploit shipping time gaps, and even handle calls from customer service. Many small business owners have suffered huge losses. A shop owner in Shandong said the refund-only policy caused him to lose over $40,000 when about $5,700 USD this year. In one case, a buyer purchased baby food, claimed a quality issue, and the system automatically issued a refund without requiring the product's return. When the seller tried to contact the buyer, he found the phone number fake, the name fabricated, and even the profile photo stolen from a celebrity. Later, he discovered that the same person resold refunded items online for profit. After 2 months, with no response from police, he had no choice but to file a lawsuit. He is not alone. Some merchants have gone to extreme lengths, driving hundreds of kilometers to confront fraudulent buyers in person. Yet most cannot afford the time or cost and are forced to absorb the losses. Fraud is reportedly most severe in fresh produce and women's fashion, with small brands targeted far more frequently than big ones. There are even underground gray markets where refund scammers trade tips, fake images, and resell goods obtained through fraud. University students in Shandong have also turned this into an organized scheme. They place orders, push sellers to ship quickly, and as soon as the order is marked in transit, they submit refund requests before the logistics data updates. The platform automatically approves the refund, and the sellers, unaware, still ship the goods. These students often use dormitory or parcel locker addresses, making retrieval impossible. Experts say the refund-only system first introduced by Pinduoduo in 2021 to reduce after-sales disputes and costs has become a major loophole. When other major platforms copied the policy, exploitation exploded. Chinese lawyer Wu told overseas media he was shocked that organizations were openly training people to abuse the system, calling it unethical and a violation of basic fairness in commerce. Wu noted that in a normal society, refunds are requested only when products have serious defects, but in China, exploiting the system has become normalized. He compared the relationship between large platforms and small sellers to that between the government and its citizens, an unequal power dynamic where the weak always lose. Court rulings in these refund-only cases offer little deterrence. Compensation usually ranges from $800 to $2,000 when barely covering legal fees. While the scammers still profit, former Shandong Normal University professor Li Yuan argued that the problem lies not in the policy itself, but in the moral decay of society. In an evil system, no rule can fix the consequences of that evil. He said, in such an environment, honest business operations are easily exploited. Many Chinese today, he added, have lost their moral compass and no longer value integrity, leading to widespread opportunism and deceit. The fact that refund scamming tactics are being openly taught and sold shows how far moral standards have fallen. Li also criticized Pinduoduo for driving prices down to unreasonable levels, forcing merchants to cut corners and flooding the market with substandard goods. He believes the Chinese Communist Party will not protect small businesses or individual merchants since its only concern is maintaining political power unless something threatens its authority. The CCP will not intervene, Li said. Experts conclude that the environment fostered under CCP rule, one that tolerates deception and rewards unethical behavior, is steadily corroding China's social ethics and destroying the foundation of its domestic commerce. While opportunists grow bolder, small merchants, the backbone of China's economy, are being driven to the brink by a system that rewards dishonesty instead of integrity. The transnational pig butchering scam network, fueled by Chinese kingpins, exposed millions of victims trapped with no way out. In recent years, a scam model known as the pig butchering scam has evolved from a romantic fraud into an industrialized, corporatized transnational crime. Victims are spread across all 5 continents. Governments in the United States and the United Kingdom have launched the largest operations in history in recent months, targeting scam syndicates operating in Southeast Asia. For example, on October 14th, the U.S. Department of Justice seized a batch of Bitcoin worth approximately $15 billion from the Cambodian scam ringleader Chenzi, while the British government froze 19 properties owned by Chenzi in the UK. So, what exactly is a pig butchering scam? At its core, it is a trust economy type of fraud. Scammers first fabricate identities on social platforms and then begin building long-term emotional connections with their targets. To lure the victim into investing more money, Scammers allow the victim to profit in the early stages, using small returns to entice them to add more funds until the victim is completely drained. Pig butchering and telecom fraud began around 2016, flooding mainland China in 2017 and 2018. Afterward, scammers shifted overseas to places like Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, etc. Southeast Asian countries became the main hubs for pig butchering. The bosses behind these parks are all Chinese. These scam companies range from hundreds to dozens of people. Large ones occupy dozens of floors with 5-6 offices per floor. Dormitories and company entrances have armed guards 24/7. Sometimes a single cafeteria seats 2,000 or 3,000 scammers eating together. In reality, these scammers are also victims. Every year, tens of thousands of young people from various places are lured there. Upon arrival, their passports are confiscated and they're forced to scam. Those who resist are detained. Those failing quotas are beaten or sold to other parks. These young people include junior high, high school, and college graduates. A blogger explained, "The headquarters of pig butchering organizations clustered in Southeast Asia are called dog dens. They call victims pigs. Finding victims is finding pigs. Romance is fattening pigs. Scamming is butchering pigs. And dividing the spoils is eating pigs." The supply team is responsible for purchasing or stealing victim information from various dating platforms and matrimonial sites, then assigning it to different script teams based on the victim's characteristics. These dating platforms are called pig pens. Sites like TikTok, Weibo, Facebook, etc. are all pig pens. The blogger points out that in pig butchering scams, the most commonly targeted groups are 3 types of people: single women over 27, homosexuals, and men desperate for love. These 3 groups are easily swayed by emotions and usually have disposable funds, making them prime targets for scam groups. After receiving a task, the script team assigns 1 or more so-called dog promoters based on the victim's situation. The primary task of dog promoters is to design a persona based on the victim's preferences, a process commonly called account nurturing. Everyday dog promoters interact with victims on chat apps according to the script, timed precisely. They are romantic, caring, gentle, affectionate, humorous, and passionate, making victims feel utterly adored and gradually lowering their defenses. By this point, they have a crystal clear understanding of the victim's financial situation. When the victim fully trusts and falls in love with them, the scam enters its cruelest butchering pig phase. Scammers use love as the entry point, guiding victims to invest money through various scripts. These conversations often involve shopping, investments, or dreams. But the core goal is always to get the victim into side hustle investments. Once the first step is taken, it's hard to turn back. After initial small profits, victims easily develop greed. Even with losses, they cling to hopes of breaking even. As amounts escalate, victims may empty their own and their family savings, max out credit cards, or take on high-interest loans, while scammers vanish without a trace once their goal is achieved. So what specific scripts do scammers use to hook their pigs? They will unleash a relentless all-day love-bombing script, hitting them with 10 timed messages from 7:30 a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Wake-up calls with delivered breakfast, veggie check lunch photos, nap reminders, voice call teases, and a 600 p.m. I made money investing hook to plant the investment trap. All disguised under the guise of sweet, caring words that draw the victim deeper into the trap. These scammers mainly target stay-at-home moms and single mothers. These women, often long-term single, easily feel lonely and isolated. The scammers believe that with specific scripts, they can easily gain these women's trust and dependency, and they encourage their accomplices to operate this way. The harm caused by pig butchering scams is enormous, not just financial loss, but devastation to victims' mental health and worldview. Many are drained of savings, trapped in debt nightmares, family relationships shattered, no longer trusting anyone. Psychologists note that the emotional betrayal trauma from these cases is far harder to recover from than monetary loss. Pig butchering has over 100 variations, each targeting different groups. So, how can you stay safe from scams? There's only one way. Never believe get-rich-quick schemes or that pie will fall from the sky onto your head. Tofu Dreg projects collapse nationwide. Highways crumble. Buildings fall apart across the country. In Yunnan province, the Nanjing Expressway between Dali, Nanjian, and Porjinggong was severely damaged after heavy rainfall. The road cracked open and collapsed into multiple sections. Viral footage online shows the highway splitting apart with parts tilting and caving in. Another video shared on social media shows the road dividing in both directions as a nearby structure collapses dramatically. Officials called it a natural disaster and reported no casualties. However, Chinese netizens heavily criticized the government's handling, accusing authorities of evading responsibility. Many said the highway was poorly built with weak foundations and unprotected slopes, while officials simply blame nature. According to official data, the Nanjing Expressway costs 13.9 billion yuan, approximately 195 billion USD to build, began construction in July 2016 and fully opened in August 2022, just 3 years ago. The incident adds to a growing list of so-called Tofu Dreg projects, low-quality constructions in China, ranging from roads to residential complexes, especially those with unstable foundations. In Hebei province, a 5-year-old residential building in the Zhongjiakou Rongshangchong neighborhood was recently declared unsafe. Footage filmed by residents shows sinking foundations, cracked underground garage walls, and deformed columns that no longer bear weight. Previously, the walls had been reinforced with iron mesh and repainted. Yet, new cracks reappeared shortly after. Residents said the problem persisted for 2 months without repair, only gaining attention after several of them posted videos on Douyin. Local officials claimed the damaged walls were non-load-bearing partitions, but the explanation was widely dismissed. Experts noted that the area's loose, sandy soil is prone to erosion, and without proper concrete reinforcement or drainage systems, subsidence is inevitable. Similar incidents are being reported across the country. On November 1st in Danyang City, Jiangsu Province, uneven foundation settlement caused Building 38 to crack severely. Walls and ceilings peeled and residents heard loud creaking noises before fleeing overnight. 2 days later, authorities evacuated all occupants and later demolished the building, but no relocation support has been provided. Terrified residents said, "Who dares to live here anymore? Every night we dream of buildings collapsing." On October 24th, the ground floor of a residential building in the Golden Sunshine neighborhood suddenly caved in while a family was inside. They escaped in panic. Officials attributed the collapse to unstable backfill, claiming the ground had only sunk a few centimeters, but public concern remains high. Many fear this could be the beginning of a larger crisis. Videos across Chinese social media reveal similar scenes: cracked walls in Huai and Guangzhou, split floors in Hunan's Zhenzhou, and balconies collapsing from top to bottom in new unfinished high-rises. In Tianjin, a woman who spent over 2 million yen on a new home found her apartment leaking, cracking, and shedding plaster from the ceiling. Who approved such houses? Who will take responsibility when they collapse? She cried online. Bloggers say such problems are no secret. Local governments simply ignore them. Many citizens believe only public exposure on social media can force action. On November 20th, 2023, in Chongqing's Green Springs Shore neighborhood, homeowners protested outside a developer sales office over poor construction. Police intervened and warned, "Turn off your cameras or you'll be detained." Netizens took this as proof that Tofu Dreg projects are being shielded by authorities. Just days earlier, on October 31st, Tragedy struck in Changsha, Hunan province, when a wall under renovation in the historic Kaozong Street district suddenly collapsed. 4 people were buried. 2 young women, one a 19-year-old college student and another, a 24-year-old worker, were killed. Residents had reported unsafe drilling 3 days earlier, but no action was taken. After the collapse, local authorities promised an investigation, but for many it was too late. A similar disaster occurred on May 1, 2024, in Dapu County, Guangdong Province, when a section of the Maju-Dabu Expressway gave way, swallowing 23 vehicles. 52 people died and 30 were injured. Officials again blame natural causes, but experts called it a structural failure. Zui, a senior U.S.-based bridge engineer, told reporters the disaster was not natural, but man-made, caused by cost-cutting and corruption. He warned that decades of rapid, poorly regulated infrastructure growth under Xi Jinping's leadership have left China riddled with structural risks. Today, buildings crack before handover. Tomorrow, high-speed trains may slow as tracks warp, he said. Human rights lawyer Wu Xiaoping, now based in the United States, has represented numerous clients in China's construction and materials industries. He revealed that rampant multi-layer subcontracting drives, cost-cutting, and quality reduction. Each subcontractor trims profits, forcing final builders to use substandard materials. Worse still, inspectors and regulators are often bribed, conducting only superficial checks. Wu noted that while Chinese law mandates lifetime accountability for construction quality, enforcement is nearly impossible. Violators rarely face punishment, and when contract breaches go unpunished, corruption flourishes, allowing China's Tofu Dreg projects to continue multiplying, posing a growing danger to millions of citizens. Chinese chemical companies are the key driving force behind the methamphetamine epidemic in Asia. An investigation by the Washington Post has revealed that Chinese chemical manufacturers are shipping precursor substances used to produce methamphetamine into lawless areas of Southeast Asia, where armed groups and criminal organizations are producing and trafficking the drug on a record scale. The situation has intensified the drug crisis across the Asia-Pacific region. According to Thailand's Anti-Narcotics Agency, with assistance from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, authorities recently discovered a shipment of chemicals originating from China. The shipment was declared as bound for Bangkok, but was actually diverted northward toward the border with Myanmar. Thai officials confirmed that the chemicals were precursors, the key ingredients used in methamphetamine production. Across the border lies Shan State in eastern Myanmar, identified by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime as the world's largest meth production hub. The area is controlled by multiple armed factions, the largest of which is the United W State Army, viewed by Washington as a Beijing-backed proxy force. Documents obtained by the Washington Post show that many Chinese chemical companies openly advertise meth precursors on e-commerce platforms and even offer one-stop logistics services, including customs evasion. Even when caught, penalties imposed by Chinese authorities remain minimal. Experts note that the trade continues to expand largely because Beijing fails to meet international standards for drug control and ignores calls from other governments to clean up the powerful criminal networks embedded within China's massive chemical industry. U.S. law enforcement officials stationed in Southeast Asia revealed that the same Chinese chemical firms supplying precursors for meth production in Asia are also providing fentanyl precursors to the Americas. Chinese-Australian legal scholar Yuan Hongbing explained that as early as the first Trump administration, Washington had repeatedly raised the issue of fentanyl precursor exports with Beijing, but to no avail. He said the core reason lies in a directive from Xi Jinping, who reportedly claimed that during the Qing dynasty, Western powers used opium to destroy China's defenses, and that now, with the U.S. facing its own drug crisis, the tide has turned. This is proof of the East rising and the West declining. As a result, Xi's directive effectively ensured that China's fentanyl export problem would never be fully addressed. Yan further revealed that since 2019, Beijing has made the production and export of drug precursors to countries such as the United States, Australia, and European nations a core national strategy. Meanwhile, a United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime report stated that Southeast and East Asia seized a record 236 tons of methamphetamine last year, a 24% increase from the previous year, with most of it originating from Shan State. Armed groups in the area maintain a strict rule: no drugs are to flow back into China. Experts warned that as long as the Chinese Communist Party maintains a lax attitude toward unregulated but convertible chemicals, substances that can be repurposed to make narcotics, Asia's drug factories will never stop operating. We'd love to hear your perspective. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. If you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends. Your support keeps us going and inspires us to deliver even better content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis from China Undercover. Thank you for watching. Before we wrap up, we'd love to hear what you think. If you agree with the concerns we've raised, comment 1. If you have a different opinion or disagree, comment 2. Your voice matters, and we want to understand how you see this situation. Do you believe these unfolding scandals and crises will force real change in China, or will they only lead to more suppression and decay? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Your support keeps China Undercover alive and helps us continue delivering deep, honest breakdowns of the stories that shape our world.